spelled E, capital D, small I, capital S, T-E-F-A-N-O, and President Bruce Benson is on the line.
Again, I'd like to reiterate the heartfelt desire we had for this to work. For all the people that helped us recruit Jon, for all the people that helped us recruit this staff, and how that came together. We desperately wanted it to work. And as I said, we had incredible hope and expectations for that to come together. We believe we provided the support to try and help Jon and his staff. I thought Jon was incredibly honest, and I enjoyed working with Jon a great deal. And I think that in 2 years, so much was revealed very, very quickly. And part of it was we were overmatched on the field. And my heart goes out to our student athletes because I feel like they gave it all. They did. And I think that's a reflection on Jon and the program. And I know what they're going through because I went through it myself as a college student athlete. But in the end, it's about obviously our functionality and the way our enterprise is run and the proactive approach that we take to trying to be competitive. Because the landscape has changed across the country associated with college football, the resources, the exposure, the competitiveness, and we're not going to be deterred. We've had headwinds with this program for quite some time, and we continue to have some headwinds, but the alignment with leadership and so many other key stakeholders has never been better. And that's going to be imperative as we pull that together. So the Chancellor and I would like to collaborate on some points, and we will both take questions, and I know the President's on the phone too. So this time I'd like the Chancellor to make some additional comments, and we'll move on.
Thank you, Mike. And I want to begin by offering my sincere thanks to Jon Embree. Jon is a dedicated alum of the university and the Colorado Buffaloes with a passion for his students and the athletic program as a whole. And if this decision were based upon passion for CU and dedication, there's no doubt that Jon would be coach for life. But it also has to be based upon progress and results, which we simply did not see enough this year. And so we looked at the performance on the field and did not see the development and the cohesion nor progressive strategy that gave us confidence in the future. And that's why this decision was made to relieve Jon of his duties as head football coach. But again, I want to offer him my sincere thanks for his service to the university. We'll take questions now.
Mike, what was the final straw? And what changed for you and when?
I think when you look at the total body of work, and again, the Chancellor nailed it. It is not an indication of how we feel as Jon as a person and as a buff and pulling that together. But when you evaluate a head football coach and look at all the key elements associated with that leadership position, it's not just the results on the scoreboard. It's how we basically manage the entire operation, from recruiting to community outreach to development of young men to discipline, of which many areas Jon did excel in. But when you start talking about the key element of alignment, back again to that issue with staff and his coaching staff, and the decisions and discussions about moves associated with coaches and those different pieces, and recognizing that the unknowns associated with those key pieces and the support staff to Jon created great unrest and doubt about the ability to drive that forward. And that's not an indictment on any particular individual member on their staff. When we hired Jon, Jon was hired because of all that he stands for and the buff ties and so forth, but also the ability to attract what we believe to be one of the finest staffs in the country with tremendous NFL experience, with all those different elements associated with it. And as the erosion of some of that equity that we had in the program began to become revealed, it was how can we continue to go down that path of unknowns and change? And when we went through some different changes and strategy adjustments Jon made this year, that added a new dimension to it. And I think it would be wrong to not recognize that that's a key piece of it. And I think that everybody in here recognizes the different elements of what Jon tried to put together.
So why not just change the key pieces and down the staff?
Well, that's my point. I think that changing key pieces down the staff with trajectory of the program that was not as positive in virtually any area, really, again, despite our wonderful student athletes. I see Will Prechek over there. I mean, I think there is a model young man right there, and he got better and did a great job in pulling that together, and obviously recognizing how that all comes together, but taking on yet key coordinator positions, potentially other coaching moves, adds another element of doubt about quality that we could attract in this situation, about the fit with the personnel, the fit with other coaches, all those things. That adds a different dynamic, which also creates a significant challenge for the head coach and the program.
When did when did you come to that conclusion, though? When you discussing with Jon about changes on the staff and you realized this is a lot of changes for 2 years, or when did this happen?
No, I think that Jon was doing a great job of reckoning. He had already made some tough decisions. And obviously, we don't have the ability to reveal those now, being Jon's no longer our head coach, but he was making those tough calls and looking at trying to pull that together, but yet the viability of how those plans were going to come together and the ability to have the third year, which is when you look around the country and look at coaching changes and the importance of the third year and all the different things that are moving forward. And if you don't have the momentum that is vital to transcend that, then eventually you begin to think, okay, did we not make the adjustments quick enough, and the ability to pull it all together that allows us to show that we're on the right path and all the things are coming together.
One of the controversies about the staff when it was put together was it was a head coach and 2 coordinators who had never been sole coordinators before. You signed off on that. Mm-hmm. Why look back now and say it was a mistake?
Well, again, I believe the staff that Jon had was one of the key elements of why we hired him, and all the buff connections, and I think that's why it's so hard for us to have this regime not be able to show the production we wanted because of all the ties they have to the university, their wonderful professionalism, all those different pieces of their resumes that are important to us to pull together. But clearly, it was not on the track that was producing the type of progress that we needed to put together. But again, Jon Embree's leadership to be able to pull them together is to be commended. That's why we hired him.
But you agreed to that, staff.
That's right.
Why? I mean, do you take part of responsibility for the staff failing that?
Well, absolutely. I think we all have culpability in the challenges associated with the football program and the headwinds that we have. But to continue down a path of unknowns and trying to retool in a major way when we don't have some momentum and some key pieces working is high risk. And when you consider the aspirations that we have, and I know everyone in this room has aspirations and expectations of where this program has been in the past and trying to reach that. And so obviously that's why we don't want to be deterred and settle and think, well, we're still going to continue to hope, but yet in the end we don't have the ability to pull together the structure and the alignment of the staff to pull that together.
How much of a hand did money boosters have in this, indirectly or directly?
Our boosters' resources have never been a factor, certainly in my tenure. And although the erosion of our fan base and the ticket sales certainly doesn't help. And
the letters that I understand were increasing. There was communication between the boosters and the Chancellor's office and your office that have any kind of influence. They thought they were having an impact.
Well, John and Terry, I think you're identifying one of the big challenges that we have as an institution here, and that's all of our key constituents being aligned and being on board. And I think that's one of the things I was most disappointed when we were successful in having John and this talented staff join us, is we didn't have the ability to really galvanize the intensity of interest in our program. And that's been a challenge, it appears, for quite some time here. And that's the obstacle that we face, and that's part of those headwinds that I talk about. And it'll be imperative that we pull it all together. I had a nice dialogue with some of our former football players last night, and they said, hey, you really haven't asked for as much help. You haven't asked us where we can be, and I think that point's well taken. But with that said, our former athletes and people that are close to this program and been a part of it, it'll be imperative for them to help us and to be a part of it. And that's not deflecting or defensive on my part at all, but we are going to reach out to our former players. First of all, we're going to ask them to engage our existing young men in the program. John has brought in great players of character, and they're hurting. And it'll be imperative for our former players to help them understand that and understand the change in the leadership and what that means to them. And I think it'll be important for us to reach out to our former players and write and share their perceptions of the program so that we can add that to our packet in pursuing our next head coach. So it's going to require all of us working hard to come together to address this challenge, because it's a cause that we care deeply about. And our aspiration is to try and reach the Rose Bowl are real, but it's going to take all of us to pull that together. And I'm proud that the Board of Regents, the President, and the Chancellor, all of us united on that. The question is, can we gain enough intensity of interest, again, of all the key players to help pull it together? And that's going to be a big piece of that.
Very few athletic directors get a chance to have 4 head coaching decisions in their tenure. My question is to President Benson and Chancellor DiStefano. What makes you think that this time is going to be any different with Athletic Director Mike Bohn?
Well, one thought is that we have made the decision on John. Our first goal is to go out and get a new head coach. And Mike has done a good job in many areas within the athletics department. And our goal now is to go out and get the best head coach that we can get and bring that person in as quickly as possible.
But doesn't it indicate this is the flagship program of the athletic department? When you have an athletic director that quit twice on coaches, how do you view him now?
Well,
it's got to be more than just the football has got to be the big decision maker. It's bigger than any other sport.
Yeah, well, obviously, John, and I think you might agree with this, it's not an exact science as far as hiring coaches. But if you look at other coaches that Mike's had the opportunity to hire, especially in men's basketball, women's basketball, volleyball, there have been some extremely good hires, soccer. And so our first, as I said, our first job today is to go out and get a new head coach.
Mike, what makes you think that this time will be different for you?
This is Bruce. I just wanted to make it clear that I am absolutely dedicated to making this program work, and I'm convinced that we can go out and find a head coach that'll make that happen. And Phil and I are both strongly behind this, and we're going to do everything possible to make it work.
Well, I'd like to address Joel's question first of all. I understand that question. And I can see the challenge associated with that. When I arrived, the challenge associated with the ordeal and the transition with Gary was certainly very, very painful, just like this is in a lot of ways, although there's different circumstances. And I know how emotional that was for you, Joel, as a player, and all the people that played for Coach Barnett and the wonderful success that he had. At that time, we we're extremely pleased to hire a coach that many other institutions couldn't hire. And unfortunately, it wasn't, didn't come together for Dan as much as we had liked, despite the fact that he tried to do it the exact same way Jon did, with great integrity, with no shortcuts, and we're not going to continue to take any shortcuts in pulling that together. And you look back at other programs that have gone through a phase, the question to Jon a little bit about the cyclical nature of this of this sport. Once it's really hard to dig out, it becomes even more difficult. And obviously the athletic director has culpability in that, and I recognize that. And but you look at Texas, you can look at UCLA, you can look at many programs around the country, and sometimes it takes just the exact perfect situation to pull that together. And that's why I think it's important that we all recognize the opportunity that we have to try and help and pull it together. And our conviction and our competitive spirit collectively is what's going to have to get that done. And obviously having a leader that can pull that together. Our most successful reigns at the University of Colorado involved multiple changes. When you think of what other ADs at the University of Colorado went through, what Eddie Crowder went through. And I've spent a lot of time over the last several months talking from ADs across the country and trying to understand that exact dynamic and trying to put that together. And that's why it's imperative for us to show a vision and a consistent drive to where we're trying to get. And I think that's why the president's saying what he's saying. And I think that it'll be imperative for us to raise the bar as far as where we're trying to get. Are we on the same level as our peers associated with looking for other coaches across the country? Obviously, we have an unparalleled community. We have the finest institution, community, college town in America, in my opinion. But is that enough? We recognize we've got to make commitments to getting our facilities up to par with others. We recognize we've got to help with our fan amenities. We recognize we've got to pull together all those other tools to ensure our student athletes can be competitive. We've escalated our academic support, but not enough. We're trying to enhance our recruiting efforts, but we're behind there. We've got to escalate our collective resolve to what we're trying to do as a program, rather than the schism that really is tied to whether you're tied to Coach McCartney, to Coach Barnett, to Coach Hawkins, and now to Jon. Those are all big hurdles for us to get through, and I don't want to underscore the headwinds that are a challenge associated with that. We're in a tough spot. We are in a very tough spot, but it'll be important for us to galvanize that support, and I think that's what you're seeing from the top administration today in pulling that together, and that is a big step. So the question is, can we galvanize everybody else behind us?
You said you have to dig out, and you said you're in a tough spot. Did you give Jon a big enough shovel? Or, I mean, is it a bit naive to think that you can be successful in one of the Pac-12 conference that you ballyhooed at the rate of support that you gave Jon, or you would give your next coach? How would that change?
Well, first of all, the Pac-12 conference is ballyhooed because you know what? The Pac-12 conference football-wise is having a banner year. When you have 6 teams in the top 25, and that one of them isn't even USC, it gives you an idea. And the notoriety and the national recognition that the league gets put its additional pressure on us because we were exposed. We were exposed in this league. And so did we give Jon a big enough shovel? I think we tried to provide additional enhancements to that shovel, but is it enough? The answer is no. And I think that's the challenge that we have, and I think that's why you hear the President and the Chancellor saying we're going to continue to try and add to the shovel to help.
Well, Jon, what are you going to do when the coaches up?
Next coach, you say those parts of the shovel. Speak to your department, then what are the changes you have to make internally to make it work?
Well, again, I think you talk about the entire operation, and it starts with leadership with the coach and the ability to bring in a vision and an enterprise that has the ability to put that together, and the functionality within the good strongholds that we do have, and we have many, but that functionality tied to a vision and the ability to sell that and pull that together, and again, get all those different functions operating in towards the same vision and the same consistent feel is very, very important, and that's essential. And that's what we'll be working hard on trying to put together, as we have been in the entire time I've been here. And obviously that's a big piece of what we're trying to do. And we do have some success stories. I think the academic support element started when the Chancellor provided deep enhancement financially into the operation associated with the Provost's office. And I think that Jon took advantage of that, and our young men are doing a great job in the classroom. That being said, we have challenges associated with some of our young players is currently associated with their academic progress, and that concerns us. So we're going to have to enhance that even further.
Mike, you mentioned, what are you going to do when the coach comes in and you're interviewing him and he says to you, how are you going to assure me that I'm going to have more than 2 years, which is going to need to get this thing back to like the 500 level when you aspire to coach after 2 years?
Well, I think that clearly when you have the right leader and you have the ability to put that long-term plan in place, then obviously they gain extra time in pulling that together. And coaches understand the challenges of this business. They understand how competitive it is and the different things that you talk about and putting them together. And I think that's why when we're looking for the next head coach, they've got to understand the commitment to the university mission and the vision of where we're trying to go. And we want a head coach and a football program that matches the academic standing of this institution, which is high. And it's high in this conference. And I think you talk about, again, leadership and organizational skills and building that functionality that's so important for us.
There's also there's a lot of people who have left this program, some coaches, ex-players, who think the problem with this university isn't the coaching, it's the lack of support from the top administration. You look across the country, you've got a lot of support for football, and a lot of people don't believe you have that here. It's just another department in the athletic department. Do you as an athletic director feel that there is enough support here? Obviously that there's not support at facilities. Obviously there isn't coaching salaries. How are you going to succeed in the Pac-12 when everybody has it in place when you're not getting it here?
Phil, you want to address?
Yeah, John, let me address that because my commitment, and I think President Benson agrees with me, is we are committed to upgrading facilities here at the university. When we hired Jon, his contract had a smaller amount as guaranteed, but a significant number of incentives for performance. For the new head coach coming in, we're going to have to take a look at that. And do we put more in the guarantee and still have incentives? We want to be competitive in the Pac-12, and being competitive in the Pac-12 means going out and doing things as far as getting the best head coach, paying that head coach, looking to the future for areas of recruiting and facilities and academic enhancements. And so those are things that I'm certainly going to talk to prospective head coaches about.
Moreover on that, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about commitment. And I'm talking to everyone associated with the program. And I know how hard our team works, and I know what they're doing, and our young men are doing the best that they can. But I'm cognizant of what we did in basketball. What started the basketball enterprise? And I know Tad's with us today, and I by no means am not helping or trying to take anything away from his exemplary leadership and what he's putting together, but it all started with conviction about we're going to change basketball. We made a commitment to the facility, we made a commitment to the young men, we made a commitment to the coach, we made a commitment to our fans, and everybody rallied around that. And that intensity of interest that you saw, for example, last night and you're seeing is a combination of all the key elements that are vital for a team to be productive and be competitive and to represent us at the level we're at. And I know that conviction was extremely strong, and Phil signed off on moving the banking center out of the Coors Event Center the first week I was on the job, and I asked him to do that, and it took us a while to pull that together. But the conviction for football has got to be escalated amongst all of our key players with that. And our next head coach is watching, And they're going to say, how's Colorado responding? How are they going to do it? Are they committed to doing it? They're going to look at the two of us and the president and the Board of Regents, but also they're going to look at all our other key players associated with how important is it? Do they want to compete in the Pac-12 conference? Do they really want to go to the Rose Bowl? And as we've looked around the Pac-12 conference, everywhere we've gone, we see the commitment. We see what we're up against. The bar is raised high. It's higher than it's ever been. This is a monumental challenge for everyone.
But are you saying you want to give the next coach what you didn't give Jon?
Talk about commitment.
No, I think that Terry, by no means are we saying that. It's the climate is changing and putting that together. So there's more pressure on us to pull that together. But as we're trying to put that support base in place for Jon, it comes back to obviously that functionality and the structure of all the different leadership elements had. And that's really why that decision is made. All those other pieces are a part of it, but certainly talking about commitment levels is irregardless. And when we're off the way that we are associated with our fan base and the different challenges of it, we're seeing a trajectory that thinking long-term and competitively, we recognize we've got to change that.
So
Black Coaches Association this morning said that it was disappointed by your decision. What's your response to that, and what message does this decision send to minorities?
Right. Well, first of all, the campus has had diversity as one of its major priorities ever since I was provost and also chancellor, and we've seen on the campus alone the increase in the number of our students of color on the campus. So the issue about diversity is and has always been of the highest priority for me as the chancellor. We didn't hire Jon because he's an African American, and we didn't fire Jon because he's an African American. I would hope that as we move forward, we continue to have diversity as one of our top priorities, not only for the campus, but for the campus as well as for the athletic department.
Mike, when did you make the decision?
I would first like, and I thought Jon did a great job, and he was incredibly honest. I think it's important. We were trying to ignite this in every way in supporting Jon and pulling that together. Now, do we have every single bell and whistle associated with brand new buildings and all that different things? No, we haven't been able to produce that. And I think that's back to that conviction gap of so many people that is going to be key to pulling that together. It's just not the president and the chancellor and the AD and our fans and our former players. It's donors, it's our community, that's everybody helping pull that together, our season ticket holders. And in the end, the decision was late because we wanted it to work. We wanted it to work. We wanted to try and find that formula. We wanted to see that. But in the end, as the leader of the program and as athletic director, when I don't see that coming together long term, and that we just can't continue to go down that path without that sense of functionality that I'm talking about in alignment when we're competing against the elite in the nation, that it came to the point late that we've got to make a change.
What day was it? Jon was saying all the way along that you got every impression. In fact, the players said they got every impression that he was coming back.
Again, it was late because we wanted it to work, and it had nothing to do with the last game. But I think when we're assessing the long-term vision and connectivity, like I talked about, key coaching moves and different things like that, I just didn't see that coming together and our ability to get to the high aspirations that our fans have.
Was it before the game or after the game? After the game.
I'm not sure there's a definite date, Jon, that comes together with that.
Mike, if it was your decision alone, would Jon Embree still be the football coach?
No. And it was my decision that I took to the chancellor and the president, and just like we always do, we do that together.
And what's your commitment to the salary of the next coach? Is it $1 million? Is it $2 million? Is it $3 million? Is it $4 million?
We are working on financial models to change that dynamic. And to Jon's credit, Jon moved a lot of the resources to his staff. And that model is what helped attract a lot of those great coaches and pulled them together that didn't materialize and that alignment didn't come together. But we are going to change that dynamic. And the President and the Chancellor are supportive of that, and we'll keep working on those financial models with our CFO, not only in the athletic department, but also on campus to give us an opportunity again to try and raise the bar there as well.
What kind of model are you looking
A
for?
lot of players like the way things were going. Coaches, players, coaches that I talked to liked the way things were going. A lot of things have changed in the positive. What was it that you saw in that regard? Obviously, the scoreboard, nobody likes that. But what did you see that you didn't necessarily agree with players and coaches with the trajectory of the program?
Well, I'm not sure that there was a dynamic associated with players and coaches. I think that my respect for our student athletes is at the highest, and my heart goes out to them. And the toughest thing I have to do is try and engage them and talk to them. But I know that our staff is dedicated to our student athletes. Our guiding principles are clearly talk about it, student athlete first. And so our commitment to try and help them through this, to provide every resource possible. I told the team last night, I've never told a team in a transition that I want them to be a part of the process, and that's something that'll be key for me to pull together to help them understand and use this as an experience that'll help them and help the program, because it's vital that they stick together, and I know how close they are, and I was aware of that.
Mike, what kind of credentials are you looking for on resumes when you
point that was made about sort of the record, and I guess this is a question for the Chancellor. 3 coaches fired in the process of hiring a 4th. Is it a position of the university that is satisfied with the results of that and the athletic director or the athletic department today?
Well, as I said, our primary goal now is to hire a football coach. And that when I look at the athletic department over the last 5 or 6 years, there have been some accomplishments, obviously not in football, but in the other sports, in academics, and so on. And we also have to look at our alumni base and raising funds from that group. That's another constituent group. But my goal right now, and my priority right now, is to work with the president and the AD and hiring a new coach.
Take one more question.
Mike, what are you looking for? What requirements on guys' resumes you're going to be looking for in the next coach?
Well, again, I think it all starts with a commitment to the university, leadership and organizational skills, the ability to have a clear vision and ensure that that's in place, and being able to sell that. Character and integrity obviously is a key piece of that. Competitive instinct, a desire to be the best, to recognize we have an opportunity to compete to go to the Rose Bowl, and someone that says that's where we want to get and put that together. Outstanding communication skills, intellect, and relevant experience, I think is pivotal. And obviously, again, we want to match the high academic standards of the institution. And I think as we look for this new head coach, to Joel and CJ's questions about our ability and our track record in hiring coaches, again, it's not an exact science. And Mike Bohn has a team of people, of faculty and leadership and internal resources and other coaches that constantly work to try and find that right dynamic and pull that together. And ultimately, in the end, I'm accountable for it, but I don't make every single decision on my own. And it's important to understand that that's why the galvanization of the entire Buff constituency is going to be critical to help us find that fit and pull it together and give them the resources and the support and the unified approach to help us be competitive. It's vital.
Does the next head coach have to be a coordinator or a current head coach?
Again, when you look at all these criteria that we're talking about, I think that it's wide open at this point. We don't have a specific tie to that. I would welcome the opportunity, and I know David will help with any one-on-ones, an opportunity to visit with anybody else after this session today. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Would you like to get in contact with